Am I on the wrong road by being in the foundation? Hey all. I need advice. I'm having a meltdown mentally and I've turned to the awesome people here. Okay, so essentially I am in my second month of the foundation Dane Maxwell's thing. I'm sure you guys know of it. I really do think the material is valuable and I do understand the arguments against what Dane is doing. Guru, selling info, big promises, all marketing, but at the same time I feel like the process is essentially the lean startup method, which is good, right? Here is what I've learned thus far. Get into the right mindset, choose an industry based on 7 criteria. Not sure if saying what they are is plagiarism. Contact industry and talk with business owners and try to find a common problem, suggest or come up with a solution that can be solved with a web apps. Find people to sell the product to and have them fund the product's creation. A lean product, no bells and whistles. Marketing or copywriting or selling is covered later. I'm not there yet. I've been calling businesses, using LinkedIn, going on forums, and today I even had a tour of my chosen niche, which is family fun centers, go-karts, batting cages, ect. I am discovering that 1, I know nothing about coding. Software. 2, business owners want an all-in-one fix, something I cannot deliver. 3, the process is much more difficult than I imagined. Here's the meltdown. I don't want to turn to the other students of the foundation BC, they know no better than I. Is this a legit business for someone like me who cannot code? Is the general concept of finding ideas, doing what I'm doing, the right way to start off? Then perhaps the rest of it isn't worth much. If I quit the foundation I'll have no idea where to even begin the process. Sorry if my questions are vague and dumb. Any advice would be fantastic and thank you in advance. Greg. Hi Greg, first of all congratulations and applause for doing something, and I don't mean signing up for that course that doesn't count as doing anything, but I do mean you're calling and meeting with local businesses. Getting out of the building is one of the toughest things to do for most people. _clap I guess so. But look, there's a book called The Checklist Manifesto by Dr. Atul Gawande. It's about how important it is to have formalized processes in place to check things off, especially in certain areas like intensive care units or the engineering of skyscrapers. It's a useful concept and a helpful book because it does a good job of laying out some approaches for applying the principles. I guess learning the checklist manifesto method would be good too. But that doesn't mean it's going to teach you what you need to know in order to operate as a surgeon in an ICU, although it may help you understand how an ICU operates, and thereby indirectly offer insight as to how to improve your own area of operation. It would be odd if someone tried to give you the impression that you needed to take an expensive course in order to learn the secrets of the checklist manifesto method. It'd also be curious if they tried to convince you that the Checklist Manifesto seminar would teach you everything you need to get started as a successful surgeon. Similarly, if this foundation thing is essentially teaching the lean startup method, why not just read the book with that very name by Eric Ries, plus anything by Steve Blank, and also a cheat sheet to the 4 steps to the epiphany? I forget the authors' names. That should do it. Great. But it's interesting there isn't any mention of teaching you how to develop software. Are software development skills already assumed? Are they described as a recommended prerequisite? If not, I wonder why not? Or is this the sort of thing where they try to convince people they can run a successful software company without learning how to develop software? Well, I guess that answers the previous question, that this course is specifically targeted to people with no software development background. So let's think about this. The foundation is something that experienced developers have no use for, because they can pick up and absorb these concepts via much more efficient and cost-effective methods. But it seems like the foundation also does not teach anything that would help a non-developer person become a developer, or even put them in a position of being able to manage a team of developers. This makes sense from a marketing perspective because there is a much wider population of people who are non-developers than developers. In order to get them to sign up for our course, we just need to assure non-developers that they can develop software while not having to learn how to develop software. If we give the impression that software development was a necessary skill, then it'd reduce our numbers. This is a toughie. Is there something inherent in your targeted niche that makes it difficult to deliver a minimum viable product type of product? Or is it just a matter of having to talk to more owners to eventually discover the right problem solution fit that fits the MVP model? I don't know what legit means, but is it a sensible choice? One definition, higher probability of success compared to other choices for someone who cannot code? I'm kind of doubtful, especially if the person has no intention of learning to code. I think so, and if you're actually putting that concept into action like you're doing great, from my perspective. You know what's also great? You already got two of the main things you need from this course. One, learning to get out of the building, but it sounds like you already had this ability? Two, and this one you probably didn't even notice you got yet. The key principle of lean stuff is, invalidate your assumptions as quickly as possible. Actively do things to prove yourself wrong. You've done that by taking care of number one above. And you're also doing it by questioning whether or not this foundation is of any further value to you. Ironic, isn't it? Isn't the foundation supposed to be specifically for people who don't know or care about coding? I am doing what the foundation teaches right now. We hired coders to make answers for a need we found in the construction industry. I think the foundation is a good process, but you need some skills for it to work. You need to be observant, inquisitive, and process-minded. These are three things that Dane excels at, but others might not have. Dane is teaching the process he used, but he probably can't impart these skills to you. If you are having trouble seeing the pain, I would suggest looking at industries that you have worked in before and you have an ounce of understanding in. When you understand how business works, you can use what Dane is showing you to see areas that need improvement. You are going to have to see many of the areas before you find a good one that SaaS can fix. I would recommend thinking back to places you have worked and problems you saw there and how you would fix them with software or technology. This will train your brain to understand process, and then hopefully you will gain insight to look into businesses and see their pain points and bottlenecks. Good luck. If you still have issues, PM me. Sent from my Galaxy Note LL. I agree with that. Maybe the op just needs to keep at it in order to find the problem solution fit, but, so if I understand correctly, there are some skills that the teacher cannot teach, but these skills are required for the process to work. In essence, the teacher has developed a program that is dependent on non-learnable skills, and is selling that program as a solution that cannot be falsified, because anyone who is having difficulty with the process must be one of those people who just isn't observant, inquisitive, or process-minded enough. It's certainly possible that this program helps some people, and it's also possible that some people cannot be helped. But really, this kind of subtle blaming the student tactic is one of the oldest tricks in the Guru book. It helps to minimize the number of cancellation and refund requests. For one thing, I guess I just don't have what it takes. Dang. The people who made up this program really are clever and perhaps really are people to learn from. Yes. I call it having an eye for _. First day at a restaurant job, the manager took me around and showed me what to look for when I was cleaning up. I had an eye for cleanliness. When you go into some people's houses, they feel very welcoming because the people have an eye for hospitality. This is a sense that entrepreneurs spend multiple of years and or businesses learning. That is why if you took someone like MJ, took all of his money, but $1,000 and a laptop, he would be a millionaire in a few years again. He has an eye for business, finances, opportunities, etc. The foundation is smart because it teaches you what to do when your business sense finds the pain in an industry, I just don't know if Dane is good at teaching how to have an eye for it, or what to do when you get discouraged. Makes sense. P.S. Gave you speed for earlier posts since you're out there building something. Just continue doing it. Your customers say they want an all-in-one solution. Of course they do. We all want that. Do they have one? No. Are they currently paying for software and services that aren't all-in-one? Yes. Figure out what the need is, get them to pay a one-time percent upfront, and then hire the programmer to make the minimum viable product. Sell it to others, which will seed continued development until it's a near-perfect industry standard. At no point do you need to know coding, so why you even mention it? At no point do you ever need money, even. SaaS is a legit business method for those who can't code. That's the whole point of the foundation. You've started and now you want to quit before you've finished. That's the only way to fail. If you follow through to the end, pushing through even though you're skeptical. That's how to make things work, man. Stop getting in your own way and just do it. You're doing fine. Don't quit at the end of it. You will either have a great product making you money, or you will know exactly what to do right the next time and do it even faster. Congrats on taking action. Following through can be 80% of your success. Just follow through. Zed. Did you ask Dane if or when he is going to teach you how to work with developers? He verbally states on his site that you don't need to know how to code. Might ask him, if I get an idea, when am I learning how to turn this into a viable product? Perhaps you need to drill down more into the problems? I am curious, will they not pay to fix 3 out of 5 problems? No mention of learning how to code. Is said that you don't need to know how to code but rather how to hire coders. The thing is, a few of his students who can't code have made products or companies using his method, so it can work. I just don't know if that's just being extremely lucky finding a great developer or just using the system. I really think the mindset behind it all is a solid framework. However, the real question for me is, 1, is this really possible without knowing how to code? I think it is, but I don't know. 2, is the scope of business possibilities limited with SaaS with niche markets? 3, is there something in the process I'm missing? But thanks for the compliments. I am trying hard. I just want to make sure I'm trying smart. To me, this is what being an entrepreneur is all about. However, so many people have eyes for problems. I think I do. But I think so does my engineer buddy who spots problems all the time. But it's what's after that I'm not sure about. Is the SaaS business model solution a fit for the problem I'm learning about from these people? And also, which industry works well with SaaS and which industries suck for SaaS? I think you're thinking on this topic. So I like when you said they currently pay for an all-in-one solution. I think that is the telling part that is really throwing me. I feel like I contacted really smart and savvy people in the family fun center market. They told me what they think is needed in the market, and they seem to be very all-in-one-ish. And I personally don't know whether I'm in a position to think or even say that just isn't possible. Practical, because I could be staring at a great problem or unmet need and thinking this problem isn't niche enough or it's too all-in-one like for me to solve it using SaaS. Should I just keep digging until I find a problem I know I can solve using SaaS? Will I know it? Will it smack me in the face? Hey, thanks so much for the kind words. I think I'm going through a bump in the road that is shaking my self-confidence in myself. I just don't want to be one of those people who just has faith and ends up doing something stupid when I should have changed course a long time ago. Thanks. Have not talked with Dane personally yet, but it is said that he will teach us and others has testified to this. Regarding business owners and drilling down deeper. I agree. I think I do need to drill down deeper. I think I'm worrying so much because I think, to use an analogy, I don't want to keep drilling down deeper in field where there is only dirt and rock with no gold. The field I want to doesn't is the field where I know there is gold in that field and I just have to work my ass off drilling down to find it. I'm very in Gold Rush the TV show right now BTW. I think I've drilled down 5 feet in my niche and came up with either all-in-one problems or people who say they don't need or want or use software. I'm scared I'm wasting fuel time, energy on drilling into this field of no gold. Thanks for the reply. It's not luck. They followed the system and it worked. It's so slow lane to think that success is luck. One Yes, it's possible without knowing how to code. You said it yourself, other people have done it. Do you think the owner of PayPal knows a damn thing about how to code? It's possible. 2 The scope of business possibilities is limited with SaaS. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. 3 Commitment. Boil it down, boil it down, boil it down. Yes, keep digging. If you're not talking to 3 people every day, you're doing it wrong. Keep digging, and interviewing, and making contacts, and digging. Take the knowledge you know and contact fresh people. So I understand a major pain you face is underscore. I'm a software developer fixing this problem. I'd like to talk to you more to understand the issue and talk about one issue at a time. If you talk to fresh people about only a single issue, and see if they still say that won't work, I want an all-in-one solution. I bet they won't because you haven't told them it's a possibility yet, and don't tell them it might go that way. When you talk to them, focus on the small issues you already identified with other people. Sure, as I mentioned earlier, it seems like you're doing great based on what you've done so far, you just need to keep going. The question is how much value this foundation thing actually provided to you so far, but more importantly how much value it'll provide you from this point on, compared to other methods of learning. In your individual situation, the question of so far isn't even very relevant since it's kind of a done deal, a sunk cost. I don't know if that program is set up with a recurring cost, but the question of from this point on would only be relevant if there is possibility of cancelling further charges. In other words, I think the original question, am I on the wrong road by being in the foundation, contains a couple of different questions. 1, am I on the wrong road? And 2, is the foundation the best vehicle for me to travel on that road, from this point forward? The big question with this is, will they teach you how to hire and manage a team of coders through the development process? I don't mean providing you a list of resources like checkout, etc. I mean really teaching you how to manage an outsourced software project. I can totally believe that a few of his non-coder students have done it. But you're right about wondering if that's lucky, both in terms of finding the developer, and also in being lucky enough to be a natural at managing a development project. If the system includes teaching you the skills needed to manage a software project, then you would be less reliant on getting lucky. Either way. Of course it's possible. The question is, how probable is success, in comparison with other choices? Yes. But let's try this fill-in-the-blank exercise. Is the scope of business possibilities limited with niche markets? Fill in the blank with things like direct mail solutions or janitorial services or Windows desktop apps, etc., etc. And you'll see that's the case with everything. There is nothing about SaaS that is particularly a problem for niche markets in general, that I can think of. Probably yes. I don't think this condition will ever change, unless you reach a state where you have complete knowledge and understanding about the process. But that would be pretty weird. But your mental meltdown seems to be a confidence or uncertainty issue, not a problem of lack of understanding the process. If you got the process entirely wrong, that'd be a different thing and would be pretty clear, I think. Besides, you clearly aren't one of those poor souls who needs to have complete understanding of things before taking action. Which is why I gave you some of that speed thing on your original post. So getting back to the original question, am I on the wrong road by being in the foundation, split into 2, 1, am I on the wrong road? I don't think so. It seems like you're on the right road, if by road it is meant the process, not necessarily specific niche or training course. And 2, is the foundation the best vehicle for me to travel on that road, from this point forward? Unknown. You have better info about your skills and capabilities, especially capacity for self-directed learning. Thanks for sharing info about your experience with this course. PPS. I'd add that it's a dangerous thing to think that some of those other people have had success just because they got extremely lucky. There's an element of randomness and luck to everything, but they just got lucky is a very poor mindset because it ignores the responsibility you have for making sure that your skills are put into action in a way that stacks the odds in your favor. Try changing your line of questioning and look at the market you're going after. If the industry is in the dumps, maybe they are just adverse about spending money on anything. Who is giving the class? Is Dane not present in the instruction? I think changing the questioning is the way to go. I need to keep questioning until I either find what I'm looking for or discover that this industry is no good. Dane releases content and gives one-on-one coaching and does conference calls. I have to say I've been impressed with how involved he's been. I think I'll start with that quote, since that seems to encapsulate everything about the foundation. I think all of this the foundation looks a bit screwy and too simplistic for my tastes. But, I'm also paying over $60,000 to go back to school in a few months, so to each his own, and I may be an even bigger sucker, right? Nevertheless, I'll go back to that quote and respond with this: the PayPal mafia were engineers, actuaries, statisticians, computer scientists, MBAs, and JDs from Stanford, UIC, Wharton, etc. Infer what you will. I do not know about the course, but as long as you feel that you are learning something. I currently own 2 businesses that work with local business doing consulting and lead generation. We now have 64 clients, mostly built up of referrals from other clients. I am telling you this so you know that I know what I am talking about because I am new on this forum. But what I like to do is find methods for my prospective clients call me. What I've been doing that I have been having success with is creating a killer video squeeze page and running ads in Craigslist advertising it. So far everyone that calls I have closed. If you want to see one of my squeeze pages that I use, check it out here. Moderator has removed link. If you do something similar to this, before you know it you will be turning down clients and only choosing the good ones. Best of luck, Bone. I'm glad you pointed this out about PayPal. Didn't want to contradict it earlier because I've been trying to follow the Dale Carnegie thing of not pointing out errors so much, but it might be good to not let this myth be maintained, namely the myth that the owner of PayPal doesn't know anything about coding. Regardless of merit of learning to code versus not needing to, the PayPal example does not support the not needing to argument. First of all, I guess by owner of PayPal it's meant the founders of the startup that became PayPal, since it's be silly to think about whether or not the corporation that eventually bought PayPal has any sort of coding ability. But anyway, long story short, yeah, the main founder of PayPal, Max Levchin, definitely knew programming. I don't mean like HTML and CSS and JavaScript, and had a background in cryptography. He went looking around for investors for a bunch of his ideas and found Peter Thiel, a derivatives trader who at the time was running a hedge fund. Highly likely that with such a background he would know programming too, even if he is just the investor. Thiel liked one of Levchin's ideas, which had to do with encrypted money transfers between Palm Pilot PDAs. Remember those? I have one in the drawer of the desk I'm sitting at. It's so cute, so he put up the money for Levchin to develop it. Anyway, later they merged the company with that Elon Musk guy, who was working on getting his PhD in physics, which surely would have involved programming even if he hadn't already taught himself to program when he was a little kid. There's a few things about the PayPal story that relate further to the question of this foundation approach. 1. If you think about it, the approach of outsourcing development of your software business is kind of like acting as Thiel the investor. Let's just assume Thiel wasn't typing code. Thiel had a strong background that enabled him to judge pretty well who was the smart horse to bet on. When you are outsourcing the development of your dream without the similar ability to read the fundamentals of the development team, that's kind of like putting all your money into a penny stock you found on the internet and hoping for the best. This $2 stock is cheap, and it's all I can afford now. That's not investing. Maybe in order to gain confidence, some people will sign up for a course offered by a stock market guru who will teach you the system that will deliver eventual riches. Some people will do well with it, just as a matter of probability. Of course, it's possible that the system can eventually work, as long as you don't blow up and lose all your equity in the meantime. 2 After PayPal gained early adopter interest in the hardware-based Palm Pilot money transfer business, nerds only, eBay users started to use their associated web-based payment management software. Normal people with Furby collections. Levchin describes that they were annoyed by the eBay users and their requests for added features and support. Eventually they woke up. This is the main thing behind the lean startup thinking that this foundation talks about. 3 The fast lane commandment of entry, in the case of PayPal, could be strongly met because there are a couple of issues that they solved. Figuring out how to develop a new kind of business in a highly regulated financial environment, and B developing analytic tools to help their internal human investigators deal with the amount of frauds that almost killed the company and killed most of its competitors at the time. PayPal only survived because it became the best at fraud prevention, so it can be thought of as a fraud prevention company, not a payment processor. So anyway, yeah? The founders of PayPal knew how to program. A word on innovation: I would get the problems nailed down, with the customers, before they start spouting off solutions. If I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. Henry Ford. Some skills can be traded for money. Coding is one of those, but if you can't develop what you want the coder to code, then you will just be spending money. 1. Yes, as others have stated, you can make it happen without knowing how to code. I think your main problem is you are accepting the all-in-one solution as what they want or have to have. I watched some of the videos and interviews with Dane prior to the foundation's start and remember him saying a few times that the business will say they want an all-in-one solution. It's your job to dig deeper and tell them which problems you can fix. I don't know anything about your niche or your niche's problems, but I'm sure there's a problem or pain point there that can be solved with SaaS. If not, you just need to move on to a new niche. Why did you select a niche without having the problem figured out? You should re-examine your niche selection. If there is nothing you can solve in the family fun segment you chose, then move to a new one. I think asking questions and being observant are extremely important, but you also need to remember to ask questions to quantify the problem to show them the amount of money it costs them. This is great advice. The key takeaway is talk about one issue at a time. And talk to 3 new people a day. Thanks for your help, Greg. This quote is going on my wall. They harp on clearly defining the problem. But the general skills of getting a problem out of someone and also asking for what they want is such a hard skill to get down and something I suck at doing right now. Most of my calls are me asking them about their day and their routines and issues they face and seeing if I can clearly define a problem. I usually have no idea if SaaS is able to solve the problem or not, and when I eventually talk about software or SaaS, they want the all-in-one fix to everything. So it's a difficult line to walk between observing problems and asking what they want. Any advice regarding this issue? I agree 100%. It's my job to dig deeper. Here's where I'm going wrong. I don't know if certain problems are appropriate to be solved with SaaS. I don't know when to move on to another niche or not. I don't know how to select a good niche. Apparently Foundation is saying use 7 criteria. 1 100,000 in rev a year. 2 they use software. 3 can get the person with the problem on the phone. 4 5,000 of these businesses types. 5 reachable by phone or email. 6 profit driven. 7 lucrative industry. Went from parking garages, to waste management to yoga studios to family fun centers. I admit I had no idea what I was doing early, but still I feel like I'm contacting too large of a business, and these places all have huge software packages like Apple's or $100,000 plus software and don't seem to need us as solution. I can't seem to pick a good niche. I keep messing it up and I'm trying to find where I'm going wrong. I selected my niche based on criteria. I don't know how I would find a problem before selecting a niche. Thanks for the reply. I see what you are saying. I think it's important to start in an area where you have some knowledge of the industry. If that doesn't exist, I would choose 5 that seem to fit your above requirements. I don't think you have done a great job of selecting niches that meet the requirements you listed. Do the niches you entered really use SaaS? I don't know much about most of them, but I couldn't see waste management using SaaS, and all I could see parking garages using is a sales system. Yoga studios? Maybe some use SaaS, but percentage-wise I wouldn't think it would be a ton. I think family fun centers are your best choice so far, but if you can find a need you can solve, move on. Take 5 niches that seem to meet your requirements. I would choose lawn care, general contractors, accountants, pest control, and podiatrists. Find a bunch of local business that are in these niches and fire off a bunch of emails to see if you can set up meetings to discuss their business, and just ask your questions and see what they hate about their job process or what they waste the most time on. I would try and set up 3 meetings in each niche and see where that goes. I'm not sure my niches are great choices. If I had to guess, accountants may be overdone. These probably offer a ton of potential, so interviewing them may help you with asking questions and digging deeper. But the problems you uncover might not be worth pursuing. Lawn care would certainly meet all the requirements, but most are probably not using SaaS, although I bet 5K are using SaaS, which could meet your needs. I think you may be selecting a niche too early. Just find some business in various niches that meet your requirements and speak with a few of them and try your best to ask good questions. Once you think you may be onto a problem, keep pressing them about it to try and find out the time it is wasting or money it is costing. After you feel like you have all the information you can get, call someone else from the same niche and set up your questions to try and see if they have the same problem as the previous business owner. If you can't get anything from them in regard to that problem, find out what they waste time on. Maybe this is somewhat helpful. This was a great post. Thank you for the insight. My questions when interviewing or setting up an interview: would you suggest telling them exactly what I'm doing? I'm a SaaS guy and I want to know your problems so I can solve them, or ask about their problems and hassles and see if these problems and time wasters can be solved by SaaS. Then suggest a solution and test it by asking them to buy or putting up a quick sales page with a buy now button and funnel people there via Google AdWords. Tim Ferriss and Noah Kagan method. What approach has been working for members in the foundation? Or are you on the lower plan where there's no interaction? I used this approach in the health industry space recently and emailed the owners telling them that I am involved in software development and wanted to know more about their market, with the email subject containing their job title, for example question. My response rate to that email was better than the Sam Ovens email, but YMMV. And on the call, my intention was to first understand what their problems were and not worry about trying to think of a solution at the same time. At the end of the call, I'd ask them if I can contact them again if I had any questions, and most were okay with that, and that could be the opportunity for the follow-up beta testing. Pre-sales. I found by mentioning software, some people do focus on that a bit, but others are happy just answering the other questions regarding problems and time wasters. I only did a handful of interviews and didn't manage to get a viable SaaS solution out of it, but I did identify some common problems they had. I'm putting this approach on hold for the time being, as it is a bit trickier to schedule time for these interviews working 9 to 5. As essentially it is like cold calling, since none of the people you speak to are pre-qualified leads. For my next test I have a product idea in mind. I am planning to use the landing page approach first and then possibly follow up with customer development interviews. As someone before me said, just go through Lean Startup. Eric Ries, 4 Steps to the Epiphany, Stephen Blank, and quit that copycat program and get a refund. Sorry to be blunt, but it needs to be said. 2. Do you enjoy developing software? Even if you don't code, you'll have to know something about it to not be taken advantage of from coders. Do you enjoy looking at code? If not, are you great at marketing and sales, so you can attract a technical co-founder? I'm not sure which would work better. I could see people getting turned off or not wanting to waste time once you mentioned being a sales guy. Also, fear of selling could come into play. On the other hand, if you tell them something else and lead too much with sales or technology, or even just seem like you have an agenda, they may get turned off by that and not trust you. I would maybe phrase it as you are working with insert niche to solve business problems that save them time and help them make more money, and wondered if they had 15 minutes one day to chat about their business. I don't know, you could tweak this, but it may provide a good start. I like that it's focusing on solving issues that any business would love to solve, more money or time. I'm not a huge fan of it potentially sounding too sale-easy. What do you think? Okay, so I could really use some advice regarding a specific issue here. I cannot decide which niche market to target to create a SaaS product. Ideally my business would be only me. I would outsource development and do the marketing myself. However, I just cannot seem to nail down an industry or niche to target. I know I want to target small business owners. They must have an online presence, spend money on their business, and already pay for software. Must be a forum, group, or someplace they hang out to reach out to people to talk to them. Large enough market size, profitable enough to justify spending at least $50 a month on a service, can make fast decision and pull the trigger on buying a product without having to go through upper management. Anyone have any suggestions on what mindset I need to adopt or where to look for a niche? Do I just brainstorm a niche out of thin air and then go with it? Do I go with a niche I understand? So far I was thinking about targeting football scouts or sports agents. Can someone give me advice? Thanks, Craig. I've read Lean Startup and I found it hard to find actionable clear steps. I understand and agree with the process, but it's tough when you're looking for specifics. Do you just pull an idea out of thin air and then begin testing it? No, I don't think so. Right now my biggest issue is which niche market to enter. My mindset is I want a one-person SaaS business where I can outsource the development and worry about the marketing and sales myself. I don't have the desire to start a large company. So SaaS model makes sense. Also, I don't have the desire to tackle some large technical challenge right off the bat for my first company, so I'd like to target an audience of customers, B2B model, who have a pain that I can solve with a $20 to $100 a month service business. I just cannot seem to decide or find the niche to pursue. The foundation doesn't seem to be the problem. The problem is me. Well, I think neither the foundation is the problem, and neither is you. There is no problem actually. Although I'm surprised if you're saying the foundation isn't providing actionable clear steps. From what you're describing and the actions you're taking, you're doing it right. Remember, the Lean Startup is all about uncertainty and applying semi-scientific experimentation to your ideas. Execution is secondary. There are no specifics. Whatever process you follow that validates, or more importantly invalidates, your assumptions in a systematic manner is what would make it possible to measure progress. As long as you are following some process, that's a good thing, as long as the process is not just about pretending that failures are a learning experience. If you feel despair now, consider this. Imagine you took the path of most people with a great idea. Let's say it was some bright idea about how a family fun center could use some web-based family fun app or something. Imagine you thought about it for months, then one day decided to go ahead and hire some PPL from Elance or wherever. Spend lots of time and money on building your big idea, keeping it under wraps because you didn't want anyone to steal your brilliant idea. Then after a year or so of working on it, getting excited and nervous about launch date, spending more dough and energy on marketing and PR efforts leading up to it. Then the big launch day comes February 13th, 2014, and boom, you get the feedback from potential customers that you're hearing now. What's that? Why would I need that? Either that or you hear crickets chirping in the night. Wouldn't you rather know that now? I think that's probably the most valuable thing about this kind of process. You're doing the right thing. Keep going. You are doing great. Don't Euro TMT quit. I know it is risky, but if you give up easily, you don't Euro TMT know the outcome of it. Just try hard. I know you can do it. And always have a positive thinking, and tell yourself that you can do it. And you can.